So task 2 and 3 are based on extracts from a travel writing article. The writer has been to an active volcano in Iceland. Usually what you would be expected is to spend about 15 minutes on this task. Read the text below where the writer describes his attempt to reach the top of the volcano. Explain how he has presented this in a way that engages his readers. The opening sentence, "I was standing in the middle of the night in a deep black canyon with 3 companions, straining to hear the volcano whisper its menace," is a long and descriptive sentence. It tells us it is at night in a deep black canyon. The use of the adjective deep shows the scale of the canyon. Straining to hear the volcano whisper its menace illustrates to the reader how the volcano is a dangerous place through the use of the word menace. This line also uses personification to show the reader how the volcano is vilified or like a villain rather than an object. Above us, a blizzard had smothered the mountain and blotted out the violent red glow I had seen from a plane 3 days before. We had tried to get up the 5,466-foot volcano in our guide's super jeep, but we were defeated by the weather. We were aware of the occasional muffled explosion and the heavy sulphurous stench of the beast. So here we have violent red glow, and it shows once again how the volcano is a force to be reckoned with. We had tried to get up the 5,466-foot volcano in our guide's super jeep. This line explains how they had tried and failed to make it up the mountain and how a super jeep couldn't even scale the volcano. The use of the adjective super makes us expect them to succeed, just as a superhero succeeds, and the fact that he doesn't shows how scary and dangerous this place is. The term defeated is also used, and this creates a more serious scene than it was before, the fact that they have been defeated. We were aware of the occasional muffled explosion is said almost calmly and shows how the writer has more important things to worry about. The sulphurous stench of the beast is a metaphor for how big and dangerous this beast is, and the writer describes how they would not make it then if the volcano erupted, which creates a sense of shock in the reader's mind when he asked his guide what would he do if the mountain exploded like it had in the winter of 1821. He rubbed his chin and concluded that we would not make it. The only chance would be to leave the jeep, to escape the flash flood of rocks, new lava, ice, mud and water. But then we would have the volcanic ash to deal with, to say nothing of the lightning that usually accompanies a major eruption. So, task 3 then. In task 3, the writer goes on to present his thoughts and feelings after the same volcano he visited had erupted. Your task for this question is to read the text below where the writer is thinking about his increased respect for the power of nature. In your own words, you're going to write down 2 reasons for this increased respect. Select 1 reason from each paragraph and present 2 pieces of supporting evidence for each reason. Pretty much everything our guide had predicted has now happened. The mountain has changed shape. Thousands of square miles are covered in ash. All the local farms and settlements have been evacuated. The sheep and stocky Iceland horses rounded up and moved away to pastures in the north and east. The road where I stood has been swept away by the melting glacier. This volcanic eruption will seriously disrupt life in Iceland for a long time. Previously, our guide had been part of a team searching for 3 Icelandic volcano experts who had been trapped in a storm. He found the body of one man who had gone looking for a phone signal and perished in the cold. His female companion, who had left the vehicle to find him, also died. A second woman, who had stayed in their jeep, was clinging to life when the team got to her. In Iceland, you become aware of nature's power to dispose of life. Okay, so the first reason that we have selected is that the writer recognises just how powerful and how much nature controls civilizations through natural disasters, and how it can disrupt our lives as we rely on it so much. This last line here, in Iceland you become aware of nature's power to dispose of life, is reinforced here. Okay, our two pieces of supporting evidence for this point. All the local farms and settlements have been evacuated in the first paragraph there. This shows the size of the devastation from the volcano. Thousands of square miles are covered in ash. This shows once again how nature's power and strength cannot be contained or relied upon. The second reason, the writer realises how nature is not selective. It kills whoever is in the crossfire, no matter who or what they are, and it can take life away in a second. So there in the second paragraph, the guide tells the author how he found the body of one man and his female companion. And the second female had stayed in the jeep and was just barely clinging to life. So the two pieces of supporting evidence for this point. They found the body of one man who had perished in the cold. This shows how nature's cold grip catches anyone off guard. A second woman was clinging to life when the team got to her, shows how nature's equality among men and women is actually quite cruel. It does not differentiate between male and female. Okay. Okay, so task 4 will ask you to read the text and explain how language has been used to develop a sense that this book would be interesting and exciting to read. So the extract is from a book called Shadow, and I will bring that up on the board now. So for task 1 then, we're going to spend approximately 17 minutes on this question. Below is some of the text used on the book cover of the novel Shadow by Michael Morpurgo. We're going to read the text and explain how language has been used to develop a sense that this book would be interesting and exciting to read. And we're going to present supporting evidence. Never have a boy and his mother needed a friend more than when a dog, a Springer Spaniel, appears thin and war-ravaged in the mouth of their Afghan cave, where they struggle to survive in a world of poverty, corruption and brutality. Nursed back to health by the boy a man, the dog becomes a constant companion, a shadow, and that's what a man decides to call her. But life in Afghanistan becomes more dangerous by the moment. Eventually a man, his mother and Shadow find the courage to set out on the treacherous journey from war-torn Afghanistan to the safety of a relative's home in Manchester, England. A man says, "This dog is not like other dogs. She is more like a friend than a dog, a friendly shadow that does not want to leave us. You never lose your shadow." But how far can Shadow lead them? And in this terrifying new world, is anywhere really safe? So the extract here opens with, "Never have a boy and his mother needed a friend more than when a dog." This entices the reader to keep reading and to find out what this situation actually is. Thin and war-ravaged really spark empathy in the reader's mind, and it's put into the middle of the sentence to add depth to it here in between these two dashes. Rather than saying skinny and injured, the writer uses more complicated adjectives to describe the poor dog. This also tells us that a war is going on. In the mouth of their Afghan cave, this indicates to us where this story is taking place, and that it is in Afghanistan and it is during the war. The writer uses a list of 3: poverty, corruption, brutality, to keep the peace legal, and to spit out quick facts to paint a picture of the world. These terms, poverty, corruption, and brutality, are very empathetic provoking. We want to feel empathy for this plight that this mother and her son and this dog are now facing. The use of the adjective dangerous shows how violent a place Afghanistan must be, and that's reinforced with that list of 3: poverty, corruption, and brutality. By putting the dog's name in a list of 3 with a man, his mother, and shadow, we're saying that personification, that equality of the dog being brought in equal to mother and son. We're showing that the dog is also a character and is now an equal status to a man and his mother. The use of treacherous and war-torn. These terms once again demonstrate how it is a dangerous place to be, and the use of the word safety, that juxtaposition from war-torn and treacherous, indicating danger, to now safety, to describe their relative's home, shows that this relative's home is like a safe haven. The use of the term "you never lose your shadow" could be a form of foreshadowing. There is a looming foreboding. What's going to happen next? What happens in the book? Perhaps the dog gets lost. Is anywhere really safe? This question with the use of ellipsis and the question mark shows how there is more to come, but leaves the reader wanting to know, what could that be? Task 5 then, our final task. We are asked to select 2 presentational features used in this cover to make this book appealing to the reader. Explain the intended effect of these 2 presentational features on the reader. So the first presentational feature to consider is the word shadow. This obviously indicates the title of the book that we have just read the extract of. This title is placed at the top of the page to signify how the book is held in high status, meaning it must be a good read. Most of Michael Morpurgo books that we know of are very popular, and they are held in high status. The colour of the font is a dark brown, and it fits in with the sandy setting in the background here. The font itself is easy to read on the blue background and is a typical font to use. The title directly corresponds to the image of the dog, so we can assume that this image of the dog here and the title go hand in hand, and this is in fact Shadow, the dog that we have just read about. The second presentational feature that we could select then is the sad looking dog. When we look at this dog's face, his ears are down, his eyes are very wet, they're staring forward, his mouth is closed as well, indicating a melancholy atmosphere around this dog. This dog is definitely not a happy dog. It's not an excited dog, looking at its facial expression. So the dog looks somewhat sad. This could be foreshadowing, or it could represent the bad times and the awful situation that the Afghan people find themselves in. The image of the dog takes up most of the cover, making it seem important. This is to draw your attention to the image of the dog. So this must be the dog that the book gets its name from, Shadow. The dog's distress represents the distress of the country, and we know that the country is in distress when we look in the background. We have the helicopters. We know that these are army helicopters. We see a soldier reaching out to help a young boy who is dressed in traditional Afghan clothing. So we can see that this dog's face, this sad and distressed looking dog, is representative of the plight of Afghanistan at the time. So that is Unit 1. I hope that it has been of use to everybody, and good luck with your exam preparation.